Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Funny. I'm a product manager who loves to explore and build new technology products. In this video, I'll be talking about the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Let's get started. Let me start with a simple definition. Imagine your next boss doesn't have to look at your resume to give you a job. Or let's say you're a student and your first job comes from a school project that you shared. Or let's say you want to convert one of your hobbies into a profession and you already know that you have a huge following that can support you. Austin says that in order for any of this to happen, all you have to do is show your work. I'll summarize this book as a continuous process. Austin says that you don't have to be a genius to share something. You need to be an amateur who has a strong passion and enthusiasm to learn. Then think about the entire process and not just the final product. Also, start sharing something small every day. And then tell good stories. Everyone would love to hear them. Then, as you continue to learn the tips and tricks of the game, start to teach what you know to everyone else. As you share, understand that not everyone might like your product. So, learn to take a strong feedback from everyone. Then, find a way to sell out your product, then stick around and continue to do the same until you know that you have learned everything. Then, push yourself, be a student again, be an amateur, and continue the same process again. Let's start with the very first insight, be an amateur. Austin says that we are all terrified to be identified as amateurs. But in fact, amateurs are the people who do their work with such a strong passion that they don't care about the money or the fame or even the career that it could bring to them. An interesting quote that Austin mentions from Zen monk Shunryu Suzuki that in a beginner's mind, there are crazy amount of opportunities, but in an expert's mind, there are limited. Whether we like it or not, the world is changing at such a rapid pace that all of us are turning into amateurs. I can totally relate to that in my world as well. Being a product manager in a fintech space, I have been hearing a lot of new changes, be it artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, metaverse, etc. That there are so many crazy things that are happening in the world. Anything that you learn for about a week would make you an expert. Austin also talks about another interesting concept. You don't have to be a genius. You need to find a genius. The concept of genius is that you're part of a group of people. These group of people could be creative thinkers, artists, theologists, etc., who make an ecology of talent and they come up with intelligent ideas. In the concept of a genius, it is not about how talented you are or how smart you are. It is about what you can contribute to that group, what are the ideas that you can share, and what are the connections you can make in that group. Another crazy and interesting concept that Austin talks about is reading obituaries. Consider this. One day, all of us would be dead. Thinking about the inevitable would help us put things in perspective and help us prioritize on the things that we want to do more rather than doing everyday things that would just fill up your space. George Lucas, the director of Star Wars, almost died in an accident. After that, he decided that every additional day that he has is an opportunity, that he has an extra day that he can do something in his life. After that, he dedicated himself to the film and then continued to build Star Wars. But obviously, all of us doesn't want to go through that near-death experience. But reading obituaries about other people would help you put that perspective and keep that real-world experience at an arm's length. Now let's discuss about the next step. Thinking about the process and not about the final product. Let's take the example of an artist. An artist can share two things. The first one is their artwork, which is the final product that they're delivering to the customer. The second one is artwork. It includes all the day-to-day activities the artist goes through in order to produce the final product. These could include how they get the inspiration for the ideas, how do they identify what they want to draw, and then finally putting it on the canvas and building the final product. Austin says that all of this would help us connect with the audience and continue to take them throughout the journey that we are going through. Austin gives an interesting example about the astronaut Chris Hadfield. Chris Hadfield wants to connect to his audience and tell the real life of an astronaut. He used Twitter and YouTube extensively to share all the day-to-day activities that they do. These includes the several pictures that they take about the earth or even the basic plumbing work that they do. Because of this, Chris was able to successfully connect to millions of audience across the globe. But of course, all of us are not artists or astronauts, and we might feel like whatever we do on a daily basis might not be interesting enough for other people to watch or other people to consume. But in fact, whatever your work is, there is art involved in it, and there is audience for every kind of art if you present it in the right way. Finally, what Austin suggests is that we need to become a documentarian of all the work that we do. You can actually start a work journal or document all the work you do in a notebook. Take a lot of pictures as you continue to do your work on a daily basis. You can use your phone or even shoot a video while you're working. This isn't art. This is just you documenting all of the work that you do. Whether you share this work with other people or not, you'll be able to clearly see the work that you're doing and you'll be able to do it even better. Finally, when you decide to share this with other people, you have surplus of material that you can use to create the content that you want to share with your audience. The next insight from the book is share something small every day. All of us would love to have an overnight success, but overnight success in fact is a myth. A substantial body of work needs a substantial amount of time, and all of us might not have a big chunk of time that we can take to achieve something. So don't worry about months or years. Think about a day. So every day after you're done with your work, go back to your documentation and identify something that is interesting that you can share with everyone. And do a daily dispatch of the work that you're doing. If you're in the early stages of doing something, then talk about the inspiration that you have. If you are in the middle of doing something, share all the work that you are continuing to do. If you have completed the project, then share all the findings that you have from the project. One of the best ways to do this is by building a habit. I've recently talked about another book called Atomic Habits, which helped me personally to build habits in my life. I'm going to link that video here as well. Go through that to understand how you can build a habit. And finally, you need to be mindful of what you share. Austin talks about an interesting concept of a flow versus stock. A flow is something that you post on a daily basis that will basically tell everyone that you're alive. But stock is something that if you produce it now, it could be valuable 2 months down the line or 2 years down the line. Austin says that you need to continue to create items for your flow, and those items collectively would become a stock over a period of time. In fact, Austin says that several of the chapters that we are continuing to read through in this book started as tweets or blog posts in his life. The next insight from the book is tell good stories. A lot of artists love to say the statement that their work speaks for itself. But the truth is that our work doesn't speak for itself. We need to find ways to publish the work. We as humans love to understand where things came from, how they are made, and who actually made them. The stories that you tell can have a huge impact on how people feel and what they understand about your work. Because our audience are humans and humans want to connect, personal stories can make more tangible and spark associations with them. Every action you take, your tweets, photos, blog posts, videos, they all tell bits and pieces of the narrative that you want to convey. In short, everyone loves good stories, but it is not very easy to tell them. It's a skill that can take a lifetime to learn. So study good stories and find some stories of your own. Your stories will get better the more you tell them. The next insight from the book is teach what you learn. In fact, I've heard about this philosophy from the time when I was a kid. As you continue to share your knowledge and your work with others, you will receive education in return. Once you share your learnings, you will receive a lot of feedback from everyone, which in fact is a free education that goes on for a lifetime. Austin says that as we continue to learn, we need to teach the tips and tricks that we learned. The next insight from the book is learn to take a punch or learn to take a strong criticism. Austin gives a great example of the designer Mike Monteiro, who says that the best skill that he picked up during his school time was to take a strong criticism. He and his fellow classmates were absolutely brutal during their critiques. These vicious critiques taught him how to not take any criticism personally. When we put our work out in the world, we have to be ready to take the good, bad, and the ugly. Austin says that we can learn it with 5 steps. The very first is relax and breathe. Imaginative people can imagine the worst fears. Instead of us doing that, what we need to do is relax and breathe and continue to do the work what we want to do. The second one is strengthen your neck. Austin says that the best way to be able to take a strong criticism is to practice getting hit a lot. Put out your work a lot, then let people take their best shot at it. Then make even more, and then keep putting the content out there. The third one is roll with the punches. Austin says that having the work hated by people is the biggest badge of honor. You can't control the criticism, but you can control how do you react to it. The fourth one is protect your vulnerable areas. If you have a work that is too close to your heart and you're worried about it being exposed to criticism, then you can hide that. And finally, keep your balance. You have to remember that work is what you do and not who you are. Keep close to your friends and family who love for who you are and not just the work. And finally, Austin talks about a quick quote from Brian Michael Bendis that the trick is not caring about what everybody thinks of you. The trick is just caring about what the right people think of you. Next insight from the book is finding a way to sell out. As artist Ben Shahn says that an amateur is an artist who supports himself with outside jobs that enables him to paint. A professional is someone whose wife works to enable him to paint. The simplistic way to tell that is we all need money to survive and continue to do the work that we love. Austin says that when we get to a point where you have followers who are loving your work, identify a way to sell your products. It could be through crowdfunding, donations, or even plain selling your products. If you're doing this online and if you don't plan to sell anything right away, at least gather the mail lists from your customers and continue to interact with them throughout your content. Once you're at a stage where you want to make revenue from your products, you can start to share the product that you want to sell through your mail list. Once you're at a point where you're able to sell your product, make sure to make more work for yourself. There is an interesting quote from Walt Disney. He says that we don't make movies to make money. We make money to make more movies. And finally, make sure to pay it forward to the people who have helped you to come up to this stage. It could be your teachers, your mentors, your heroes, your peers, your fans, etc. And the final insight from the book is to stick around. Every career has ups and downs. And when you're in the middle of living out your life, you don't know whether you're in the up or down and what's about to happen next. So never quit your show. And author Scott Fitzgerald says that there is no second acts in American life. But if you look around, you'll always notice that there is third, fourth, and even the fifth ones. You need to avoid stalling out in your career by never losing the momentum. Instead of taking breaks in between projects while you're waiting for the feedback or worrying about what's happening next, use the end of one project to light the next one. And if you feel like you have learned everything that you need to learn, pick up something new that you're interested in and start to do this all over again. And finally, to summarize the book, be an amateur who has a strong passion to learn and do something. Share the entire process and not just the final product. Start to share it every day so that you don't have to wait for the final product to give it to your audience. Always tell good stories and continue to teach others as you continue to learn the tips and tricks. Learn to take a strong criticism from everyone as you continue to share to the larger audience. After that, find a way to sell out your products and stick around and continue to do this entire process once again. Thank you for sticking around and watching this book summary. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, please share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel so that you can continue to see additional book summaries. If you want to see my summary of the book Atomic Habits, click here. If you want to see the summary of the book 0 to 1, click here. Thanks again. Have a nice day.